Just ahead on CTV News, the Supreme Court strikes down President Trump's tariff policy, calling it unconstitutional.
Today I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122, over and above our normal tariffs already being charged.
And
lawmakers in Prince George's County are fighting back against a proposed ICE facility right here in Hyattsville. I'm Jonathan Hunter. I have more details coming up.
Plus, Senator Chris Van Hollen meets with the Prince George's County delegation to the Maryland House of Delegates to discuss working together in the year ahead. These stories and more on CTV News, starting now.
Good evening, this is CTV News for February 20th. I'm Michaela Newton. Thanks so much for joining us. Our top story tonight, the Supreme Court delivers a major blow to President Donald Trump's trade agenda. In a 6-3 ruling, justices struck down the president's sweeping tariffs on imports from more than 100 countries, saying he overstepped his authority. The court found that the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977 does not give a president the power to impose tariffs without approval from Congress. Here's what President Trump had to say.
The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. They're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats, and not that this should have anything at all to do with it. They're very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution. Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long.
And the ruling could force the administration to unwind trade deals and potentially refund billions of dollars to importers. And joining us now to take a closer look at the Supreme Court's ruling and on President Trump's reaction is Mr. Patrick Hickey, political science professor at Prince George's Community College. Mr. Hickey, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about this ruling. Is it really about tariffs, or is it more so about who holds more power when it comes to who holds more power in Washington?
Yeah, it's really about both. So all these Supreme Court questions are talking about the case at hand, but also larger issues. And so here it's really about how far can the president go without, how far can the president take things? And what presidents do with these executive orders, Congress passes a law, which is just words on a piece of paper. And then the president has to make that law happen. And so they'll say, because of this law and the Constitution, I order the government to do X, Y, and Z. Well, they've pushed this to start ordering the government to do things that isn't really authorized in the law. And that's what this case was about, sort of reining in the president when they sort of try to push further than they should.
All right, Mr. Hickey, thank you. Lawmakers in Prince George's County are taking swift actions to block ICE operations as an increase of ICE detention facilities are trying to set up shop. CTV's Jonathan Hunter has the story on how the community is fighting back.
I'm here on Bellcrest Road in Hyattsville, where this building behind me is being proposed as an ICE facility. Lawmakers in Prince George's County are doing everything in their power to fight back.
ICE out now! ICE out now!
Those chants were heard loud and clear Thursday morning. Protesters joined lawmakers to send a message to the Department of Homeland Security that the proposed ICE facility is not welcomed.
And about half the kids in school are immigrants. I mean, come on. This is a community that stands together with our immigrants.
Congressman Glenn Ivey, along with other elected officials, sent a letter to the Department of Homeland Security to get specific answers about the proposed project.
They've got families out there in Minnesota where they're afraid to go out and get groceries, so they have to have people bring them in. But the community stands together, and it's making a difference, and they're winning in Minnesota. We're going to win here too, right?
County Executive Brave Boy took action as well, signing an executive order that designates all county buildings, parking lots, and garages as safe places, also blocking building permits that could be used for detention centers.
What happened in Minnesota, as residents started really resisting, started saying no, guess what happened? There was a retreat. And so I think that we always have to stand up, speak truth to power, and not bow down to anyone.
The Prince George's County Council is looking at a few bills that would limit ICE operations in the county as well. In Hyattsville, I'm Jonathan Hunter for CTV News.
In the next few weeks, you will see signs all throughout the county buildings letting you know it's a safe space. And in Annapolis today, Senate President Bill Ferguson laid out their legislative priorities during a weekly check-in. Their focus is on affordability, economic growth, and public safety. Lawmakers also highlighted recent emergency legislation signed into law, a new measure that bans agreements between local law enforcement and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
As I said in my remarks on Tuesday, trust and credibility between communities and law enforcement will continue to be our top priority. And we cannot partner with a federal agency that's acting the way that ICE has over the last year.
The bills, they say, are a part of a broader effort to protect Marylanders from the impact of federal policies. Meanwhile, former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan says Governor Moore's new immigration enforcement law could hurt public safety. Moore signed the emergency legislation banning 287G agreements with local law enforcement, helping the agency detain non-citizens. Hogan says local police would ignore the new law because they still have to work with violent criminals. The law blocks new partnerships and requires existing ones to end by July. With Maryland's campaign filing deadline just days away, a controversial redistricting push is facing challenges in Annapolis. House Democrats have passed a bill to redraw the state's 8 congressional districts, but the legislation has stalled in the state Senate. The proposed map would likely shift Maryland from a 7-1 delegation to an 8-0 delegation, eliminating the state's only Republican House seat. Governor Wes Moore has urged Senate leaders to bring it up for a vote, but Senate President Bill Ferguson remains cautious, citing timing and legal risks. And snow is expected in our area Sunday, so Prince George's County Public Schools is already prepping for the possibility of another weather-related disruption on Monday. The Board of Education recently approved a new virtual day plan, giving the district flexibility if conditions worsen. Now, if Monday is declared a virtual day, students can use personal devices to log in from home. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Michaela Newton. Still to come. Are you a homeowner on the brink of foreclosure? Well, after the break, learn about the foreclosure prevention workshop happening this weekend. Stay with us.
Once upon a time, there was a special blue marble. Well, a green and blue marble, really. It floated in space. If you looked closely, you could see curious creatures of all sizes, colors, and shapes, and happy people like you and me.
The marble gave them everything they needed to survive, and more. Crisp air to breathe, fresh water to drink, tasty food to fill their bellies, crucial medicines to keep them healthy, and gigantic trees to use for their homes. For a while, the people felt peace, and the marble fed their souls.
But as time passed, the people changed. They became busy and distracted. The marble changed too. All life there came under pressure. Nature needed their help, and they realized they needed nature too. So they partnered with the sun, the wind, the land, and the water to restore the marble that had always sustained them.
Is that the end of the story?
Not at all. Just the beginning.
Welcome back. We now know the name of the 6-year-old boy who was killed in Montgomery County on Tuesday. Police have identified the child as LaSalle Lee IV. Lee died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound inside his home in Montgomery Village. There was one adult home at the time and they called 911, but according to police, the handgun was legally registered. The investigation is still ongoing. And 2 U.S. senators held a discussion with Maryland lawmakers today. Senators Chris Van Hollen and Angela Alsobrooks took part in a virtual meeting with the Prince George's County delegation. The members had a chance to discuss a range of issues, including building wealth in minority communities and reforming the state's child support system. One topic that both senators addressed is the issue regarding college affordability in Maryland and many students' reluctance in taking out loans.
Our students are graduating after 4 years, they're there after 6, and that's largely because of how hard it is to finance it. It's not because they're not smart. So we do have to start looking at different ways, but I think that dual enrollment, if we can begin to look at ways that we can increase access and increase dual enrollment programs across the state.
But we also need to work with colleges and universities to contain costs because, this is a big part of it, and all of that should not be passed on to students.
Reports show that roughly 60% of college students graduate with debt ranging from $25,000 to $32,000. And speaking of Senator Chris Van Hollen, he has now joined a group of Democrats who plan to boycott President Trump's State of the Union address next week. Instead, they will be attending a rally happening at the same time at National Mall titled People's State of the Union. The rally includes lawmakers who also boycotted the president's first and second inaugurations. The State of the Union address is set to take place on Tuesday at 9 p.m. And students at the University of Maryland who rely on financial aid will be seeing new changes that will impact their aid package. Undergraduate students on Pell Grants could lose eligibility if they have more than twice the maximum student aid index or if they receive non-federal financial aid. Also, federal Graduate Plus and limits on Parent Plus programs have been eliminated. All the changes are expected to take place on July 1st. And sticking with UMD, students and faculty say they're still feeling the effects of federal pushback on diversity programs, even a year after it began. The community says federal actions targeting DEI continue to disrupt campus programs and student life. Students and organizers say that investigations and threats to withhold federal funding have created uncertainty around diversity-focused offices and initiatives. The attacks have left some students feeling worried about the future of inclusive programming. And homeowners finding themselves in the midst of foreclosure can get some legal help this weekend. County Council member Edward Burrows is hosting a free foreclosure prevention workshop. Attorneys will cover a range of topics, including the state's foreclosure process, deed theft, and illegal lender practices. Burrows wants homeowners to know that they have options as they work to protect their home. Last month, more than 2,100 homeowners received foreclosure notices in the county.
We have experts in housing and the foreclosure process. We have a team of lawyers and advocates, people who can really help people navigate the procedure. When you're a resident going through it, it can often be lonely, you're not sure where to turn, and then you don't have the money to hire a lawyer to help you defend yourself. And so it's a compound issue.
And the event will take place from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. at the Southern Regional Tech and Recreation Complex in Fort Washington. Well, Joel Peebles Jr. is announcing his run for the District 6 race, officially filing for candidacy today. Peebles plans to challenge recently appointed council member Danielle Hunter. He previously served as policy director for District 7, chief of staff for a council office, and legislative officer. And we spoke with Peebles after he filed for candidacy on his platform.
We want to go ahead and close the budget, not overpromise and not underdeliver, to make sure we actually are building revenue so we can fund all programs and not have to take funding and switch it from program, agency to agency. We also want to look at our development process right now. Why is it so tough for development to actually see from the starting phase to the ending phase, but also look at the district council process and see how that kind of contributes to it. And also we want to look at public safety. We want to be able to make sure that we have community-based organizations working with our law enforcement to make sure that the communities feel safe but are yet protected.
And he spoke also about wanting to make sure the county is more affordable and seniors get to age in place. And so to come on CTV News, an organization is spotlighting Black musicians during the Revolutionary War We'll have that story and more after the break.
I knew that St. Jude was a children's hospital for cancer and hematology. I knew that no one ever received a bill from St. Jude, but I in no way understood the scope of how amazingly and how completely they take care of their patients and their families.
Join the battle to save lives by supporting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
Here at St. Jude, you don't ever have to worry about how much treatment costs. You never get a bill, ever, for any of it.
They make it so that our only battle and our only concern is taking care of him and making him comfortable, and making sure that we're there to support him in every way. Any other concern that we could have, St. Jude took care of completely.
All right, ready, you guys? You guys gotta be loud, though, okay? Let's go! Let's go! Okay, repeat after me.
Yes, sir.
I am somebody.
Somebody.
I may be young.
I may be young,
But I am somebody.
somebody.
I may be small.
I may be small.
But I am.
But I am somebody.
My clothes are different.
My clothes are different.
My face is different.
My face is different.
My hair is different.
My hair is different.
But I am. Somebody.
Somebody.
I must be respected.
I must be respected.
Protected.
Protected.
Never rejected.
Never rejected.
But I am.
I am.
Somebody.
Somebody.
I am. Somebody. I am. Somebody. I am. Somebody.
Somebody.
Maryland lawmakers are considering a bill that would ban judges who have been expelled or forced to retire from ever running for their seats again. The proposal targets circuit court judges who face controversial removal from office. Supporters say it closes a loophole that currently allows ousted judges to seek re-election after being removed for misconduct. The measure would require a constitutional amendment and needs approval from voters on the next general election ballot before it can take effect. And it's never too early to get ahead of the game when fighting prostate cancer, and that's what Emmanuel Health Education Incorporated is doing. The organization is having a free prostate cancer health fair tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Largo Kettering Perrywood Community Center. According to the American Cancer Association, African American men are at a higher risk of developing prostate cancer than others. African American men also make up 48.39% of Prince George's County residents.
It's going to be a great opportunity for the community to better understand prostate cancer by way of expert lead panelists and presentations and continuum care kind of conversations that we're going to have, data, treatment, that kind of thing. The earlier that you're screened, the greater opportunities or the more treatment opportunities you have in terms of, beating this. We have to help people understand family history. We have to help people understand how disproportionate this is amongst us as black men in particularly. And then we have to create a safe space for men to be able to share and to open up and to feel comfortable.
And again, the free prostate cancer health fair is happening tomorrow. If you would like to register, head over to emmanuelhealthedu.com. And Maryland health officials are seeing an increase in mumps cases. Although there has been an increase in cases less than 2 months into the new year, officials say the risk for catching the disease remains low due to high vaccination levels. The disease typically spreads through direct contact with saliva or respiratory droplets. As of Thursday, officials have received 19 confirmed cases and 7 probable cases, mostly from adults in the Baltimore Avenue. And a new bill is calling for a forensic survey of land at a former reform school where black youth are currently buried. The bill, sponsored by Delegate Jeffrey Long, visited the site last year where as many as 300 black youths are believed to be buried. House Bill 552 would provide forensic anthropology and archaeology investigation of the site to discover unmarked graves. According to a CNS review of death certificates, newspaper articles, and grand jury reports, almost half died of tuberculosis and pneumonia. And a nonprofit will be putting a spotlight on Black musicians during the Revolutionary War. This weekend, the Coalition for African Americans in the Performing Arts will be hosting a musical event at Montpelier Arts Center. The event is called Voices of the Past, Salute Black Music of the Forgotten Patriots in the Colonial Era. The recital will take guests through a journey that will feature folk songs, patriotic songs, and musical instruments that were used during that time period. Organizers say all of this coincides with America's 250th birthday and the 100th anniversary of Black History Month.
We can imagine that African Americans who were coming out of slavery during that time period were listening to those hymns of the slaves. So some of the music that will be performed on Sunday are Negro spirituals. There'll be some patriotic music that's tied in directly and performed by the fifer. We actually have a fifer that will be performing on Sunday.
And this event is set for this Sunday, February 22nd from 4 p.m. All right, don't move anywhere, sports fans. Simon Buggs has our Friday sports page.
Hey everybody, and coming right up, Gwen Park High School track and field athlete Riley Holloman tells me what makes his team so special. Hear what the state champion had to say when we come back.
I do not have guns at home.
I feel really safe and secure having a gun in the house.
Judge, my opponent is completely disregarding almost half of my arguments which I responded to.
Communities must step up
Laws
and
alone
protest
cannot
against this
stop a
normalizing.
bullet.
Our community must educate and push back against all that violence.
Every individual needs to be aware of what they can do to keep kids safe.
I completely disagree.
I'm not going to listen to points that are completely ridiculous.
Point of inquiry. Do you guys even realize that the #1 killer of children and teens are gun injuries? Why are we fighting about this?
We have a serious problem in this country.
There is no adult in this earth that wants children to die.
I worry for my kids.
Knowledge is my superpower. I love nothing more than having community conversations where we go deep and share profoundly different perspectives. I studied peace and conflict resolution as a Rotary Peace Fellow, and the global network I gained is extraordinary. The skills that I learned enabled me to level up and have greater impact in my work. Rotary is this great connector. It makes something that might seem so far away, it brings it closer to you. You know, it doesn't matter if there's thousands of miles between us, if we can connect over common cause, we're already halfway there. What I admire most about my fellow Rotary members is their extraordinary heart and commitment to doing the hard work, driving and pushing change locally in their communities and globally. With Rotary, I have the power and reach to unite people across the globe to take action.
Hey everybody, and coming right up, Gwen Park High School track. All right, everyone, your Friday sports page is here. Beginning with some track and field news, the Gwen Park High School track and field team had a great showing at the state track and field championships this week. Multiple athletes from the team were crowned state champs in their respective events, making it clear that the Yellow Jackets are one of the premier track and field teams in the state. And Riley Holloman, who was named state champion for the 55-meter hurdles, told me what it is about his team that makes them so great.
Definitely our work ethic. Like, we're not going to let nothing stop us, all the snow and stuff.
We're not going to let that stop us. We've had practice inside. We've had practice outside, 30-degree weather. We're so committed to it that we have our own practices. Like, my whole team shoveled our track when it was snow just so we could practice outside, just so we can get some reps in. So I would definitely say our dedication to the sport and our love for each other and our ability to boost one another, because when I fall short, I know my teammates are going to be there to pick me up and vice versa.
Congratulations, Gwen Park, as well as all the other high schools that won medals. And sticking with high school sports news, there was some action on the hardwoods last night. Starting with the girls, Duval blew out Northwestern 53-15. Bowie got an easy win against Suitland, winning 49-17. And finally, Flowers got their 16th win of the season versus Parkdale, beating the Lady Panthers 55-30. Meantime, on the boys' side, Eleanor Roosevelt took down Gatesburg 66-55. Potomac beat Charles County's Thomas Stone High School 62-41. And lastly, Flowers remains undefeated on the season at 21-0. That's right, 21-0, y'all, after routing Parkdale, winning 77-35. And sticking with basketball news, the Bowie State women's basketball team will return to action this week. The Lady Bulldogs will match up against a CIAA rival in Lincoln University tomorrow. Tip-off is at 2 o'clock. And the men's team will go up against the Lions as well later on that day to try and get their 7th win of the season. The game begins at 4 o'clock. Lincoln University will be the last team Bowie will play before the CIAA tournament, which begins on February 24th. And wrapping up sports, the Washington Wizards will return to action tonight against the Indiana Pacers. Tip-off is at 7 o'clock. And that is your Friday sports page. Simon Buggs, CTV Sports. Have a good weekend, everyone.
All right, thanks, Simon. Let's get a look at our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight will be mostly clear out with wind gusts of up to 18 miles per hour. Tomorrow, it'll be 53 degrees and partly cloudy, but we'll get some rain and a rain-snow mix tomorrow night. Sunday, it's going to be 40 degrees. We have an 80% chance of snow. Monday, we'll have a 40% chance of snow. It'll be 39 degrees with a low of 27. And for our community calendar this Sunday, Iyanla Van Zandt is heading to the National Harbor to help you declutter your mind with her new book, Spiritual Hygiene. The best-selling author and spiritual life coach will be holding an interactive lecture at the theater at MGM National Harbor. This event starts at 4 p.m., but for tickets or more information, go to Ticketmaster.com. All right, that wraps up CTV News for now. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again Monday. Have a good night.
know there's a light that glows by the front door. Don't forget the keys under the mat. When childhood stars shine, always stay humble and kind. Don't expect a free ride from no one. Don't hold a grudge or a chip, and here's why. Bitterness keeps you from flying. Always stay humble and kind. Hold the door, say please, say thank you. Don't steal, don't cheat, don't lie. I know you got mountains to climb, but always stay humble and kind. When the dreams you're dreaming come to you, when the work you put in is realized, let yourself feel the pride, but always stay humble and kind. Yeah.
When I was born, my parents thought everything was okay.
Several days in, we noticed that he had become blue around his mouth. and something was just very off.
I was born with a congenital heart defect and almost died. But thanks to research funded by the American Heart Association, I had heart surgery that saved my life.
The American Heart Association gives kids and families hope of a healthy future.
Learn more